Hello and welcome to a live deprogram with Keri Smith. I'm your host, Keri. Thanks for being here. This is not our normal streaming day. I know I said we were going to be back on the normal schedule, but yesterday I could not do it. So today I have a special treat to make up for it, which is even better. If you are here today, or maybe you're watching this later, I'm about to be joined by my good friend, Mystery Chris from Pop Culture, who we haven't seen in a while. I'm very excited. We're going to talk about today's topic, which is the new whites only settlement in Arkansas that's getting a lot of media attention, and we're going to do all the ins and outs of it. I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation and surprising for some people. So thanks for being here. Leave a comment if you like the show. It helps the algorithm. I just have to, while I'm waiting on Mystery Chris, I got to take my boots off. Look, these are the boots today. The little foxes. These are like 10 years old. I haven't worn these in a while. But they're super cute. The little foxes. It makes me think of the Betty Davis movie. Okay, hold on. Getting settled for a special impromptu Tuesday show. Can you tell I'm excited that Mystery Chris is coming? He's having a problem with his microphone, so he said, just start. I'll be there in a second. So I figured I could say hello and see how you guys are doing and maybe make some announcements. Hey, what's up, Therese? Adam? Hello, Dion. I feel like this is being promoted to make people accept that or be hypocrites. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, we're going to get into all the ins and outs of it. So the whites only settlement, for example, a big thing I'm going to be talking about today is how the woke left, I mean, they have no room to complain. You have no room to complain. They've been doing racially segregated towns, yes, and also graduation ceremonies and city council meetings. And we had in Austin, Texas, there was a big to do a couple years ago because the woke city council decided for the Parks and Rec department to hold like racial healing meetings with all the government employees there in Austin, and to separate them by race. There was like whites only meeting and like people of color only meeting. It's like, come on, woke people, you guys are stupid. I say this as someone who used to be one of you. Look around you. What are you doing? You think it's not gonna, and then you want to get mad when white people are like, okay, we'll do that too. Like, why do you think it's happening? You created this. If you don't like this, then don't do this. If you don't like racial segregation, then don't racially segregate. It couldn't be more simple, but we're gonna get into some of the nuance of it. Okay. Kevin Anderson says he was in the Betty Davis play, The Little Foxes. You were? Very cool. Adam Worrell, quick gag. Where do inmates with lower black pain serve their time? In Sciatica Correctional Facility. I ruined your joke. I've never had to say that word out loud. Sciatica. There you go. Okay. Hey, what's up, your average patriot nerd? So, we've got the whole documentary pulled up about this town. It's a short documentary. We watched parts of it. It's Inside Return to the Land, the group making a whites-only community in Arkansas. Let me just show you some of the news, first of all. Now, one thing that's interesting, there's a couple double standards. I can repeat some of this with Mystery Chris, but the media goes crazy over it because it's white people, right? But did they go crazy over the blacks only community in Georgia? No, we can look at that too. So people notice the double standard. That's the other thing. If you don't want people to go down this path, then don't have a double standard for behavior, which the woke have. I mean, they would without double standards, the woke would have no standards at all. Like that's what they've been doing for the past 10 to 15 years, at least is double standards. Let me just add this. I'm going to show you some of this, the news articles about this while we wait. If you do a Google News search, this is the kind of stuff that comes up. I mean, it's all over the media. Return to the land. White supremacists building whites-only settlement in Arkansas. Whites only community seeks Missouri expansion. Can U.S. whites only community reintroduce segregation? State lawmaker responds to the whites only community potentially coming to Springfield because they're trying to expand into Missouri. Springfield leaders urged to speak up against plans for whites only enclave nearby. Return to the land group sets up an all-white town in Arkansas. Civil rights activists raise alarm. Democrats fuel whites only communities. I just want to ask, where is all this energy for the past 10 years while the wokes were doing blacks only graduation ceremonies and whites only graduation ceremonies and blacks only city council meetings or Parks and Rec employee departments? And, where was this energy then? I had to complain a lot of the time. There were some normies who didn't understand that it was like woke left doing all this, who complained, because obviously if you're a normie and you're not plugged into the woke cult, you look at stuff like that and you're like, this is weird. This is wrong. And so in Austin, for example, here's that story I was telling you about from a few years ago. Actually, this is from January 2024. So just a little over a year ago. Austin Parks and Rec Department. Remember this? If you're in the Austin area, Austin Parks and Rec Department apologizes after planned segregated racial healing meetings. This stuff was happening all over the country for years, though. It's still happening in some places. This woke stuff, this woke racist crap. The city of Austin's Parks and Recreation Department apologized after sending out an email that alarmed several workers. The email sent on January 25th, titled in part, Healing from Racial Trauma, told people to attend one of two meetings. There was one for people of color and one for white people. What? Because you know what helps racial healing? More segregation, apparently. This is a racial healing meeting. Whites here, coloreds there. Austin, Texas. Keeping it woke, Austin, Texas. Okay. Let me take this off the screen for just a second. I have a special guest. Please welcome. Oh, wait. Now he's gone again. There. Mr. Chris, if you can hear me, I saw you for a second and then you disappeared. So come back. We'll keep watching this. A part employee sent KXAN the internal email that came from someone who recently started as a PARD equity and inclusion coordinator. That's the Parks and Rec Department, equity inclusion. Of course, it comes from the woke crap. That's where it comes from. Mystery Chris, are you there?
Hello.
Hello. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. So my desktop is not recognizing my mic, so I'm using my laptop. That's what I get for updating Windows. So I'm probably going to start roboting at some point in time, because it always happens when I use my laptop, but we'll see.
Well, I can't see anything that you're doing, so you can do the robot if you want.
Wow.
I just picture you dancing. Nobody can see.
That's true.
If you start roboting, you better be doing the robot. Here, let me scoot it over. So is that better? I think that's better.
Yeah, it's a little tight in here.
It is a little tight in here. I just wanted to welcome you back. It's been a while since you've been on Deprogrammed. We haven't done pop culture in a while. We took some time off. Then I had my surgery, and we just haven't brought it back yet. Although we are going to be bringing it back soon with some new episodes. I know you have some ideas we're going to talk about. So, Hey, look, everybody says welcome back.
Well, hello, everyone. It's so weird to be doing a show when the sun's up. It's throwing me off. I'm like, what is going on? I don't like it. I don't like sun.
Yeah, you're used to being here at night. Wow, legalize adulthood. Thank you so much for the generous super chat for $50. Says, I'm back from vacation helping look after my 95-year-old mother. Good to see you, Keri. Wow. Well, it's very good to see you. Thank you for the generosity. And I mean, what a kind soul going out to look after your mom. I love some people who have that good relationship with their parents and are like, I'm going to drop everything and go out and help. Like, that's what it's supposed to be. I saw this tweet today that said, it was a picture of a woman, and she said it was a picture of this woman in her house with her cats, and it said, "I'm 47 years old and I don't have a husband or kids. Who's going to take care of me when I get older?" And a lot of conservative or based people were saying, "Nobody. You should have had a family," you know. And they were, some of them were reveling in it, which I just kind of mean, don't revel in that, you know, that somebody made mistakes. But my friend Deb pointed out that's not always the case, even if you have a family. She was like, you know, she and some others were talking about how there's a lot of older people who are sitting in nursing homes whose kids don't want anything to do with them, who don't visit or anything, you know. And then there are other people who, like aunts and great aunts, who never had kids, who have loving families who take care of them. So you never know, you know. Be grateful. Anyway, that's a little extended thing on, like, good for you taking care of your mom. Okay. Let's get into it. I saved this topic for you. I'm kidding. You said let's do this topic. So tell me, you've been watching this in the news about the whites only community.
Yeah, I want access.
You want to access it?
Yeah. I want to do some two-stepping and have some movie nights where we watch Birth of a Nation. It'd be great.
How are you going to get in? Are you going to wear whiteface?
Yeah, but I'm also one of the good ones. So,
do you remember when Dave Chappelle would wear whiteface in his show, the Chappelle Show?
How could I forget?
Do you remember he always looked, and he would wear the mustache, and he kind of looked like Ned Flanders.
Well, that all started with Eddie Murphy, the White Like Me sketch on Saturday Night Live. I wish we could show Saturday Night. Well, actually, I do have a clip later, a funny clip that's kind of related to Ray's, this Chris Rock clip I want to play later. But yeah.
Okay, well, let me start with this. When you joined us, I was showing this. Now, this is some of the stuff that I think has led to this, of course, and is sort of fueling this more support for a whites only separatist community than you maybe would have seen if we hadn't been living through 10 to 15 years of the woke encouraging racial segregation. You're in Austin too. Do you remember this? A few years ago, when the Austin Parks and Rec Department had sent out these employee emails about racial healing in the Parks and Rec Department, and the employees were told to go to either the whites only meeting or the people of color only meeting. For racial healing. And it was sent out by the Parks and Rec Department's new equity and inclusion coordinator, of course. And look at this.
Person still exists. I'm wondering. This position still exists, because we're seeing a lot of these positions being purged. I'm just curious if it still exists.
It should be gone, but you know, Austin, they probably promoted this person after this big kerfuffle. So normal people don't get it. Like, there are normies who still don't even understand what woke is, and they're looking around at the world like, huh? Because they're busy. They have lives to lead, right? So this one employee was like, it was really upsetting, one employee said, growing up and seeing signs saying whites only and no blacks. And then it was like, wow, it took me back, the employee said. It says racial affinity, get together for racial healing, but how can that be done if all parties are not there? This is what a good normie reaction to woke racists being like, hey, we're going to have a racial healing meeting in the Parks and Rec Department. And you need to, if you're an employee, you need to report to the whites only meeting or the coloreds only meeting. That's essentially what they were doing. So, I mean,
I wonder if they got somebody who speaks Ebonics to lead the black meeting.
Stop.
That'd be hilarious.
Was there pressure on you when you were working? You may not want to talk about it, but one of your jobs, yours aren't gig jobs. You have a real career, but I do gig jobs. One of your jobs, was there pressure on you to perform black, like to be black? There's a lot of white leftists there. That's why I'm wondering.
No, there wasn't, but when I was at one of my previous jobs, I was always kind of pushing the limits a little bit because it was very politically correct. And so I was trying to loosen people up, and a lot of the older people didn't mind, like obviously like the millennials and Gen Xers, when I make some of these jokes, they would kind of chuckle. I'd see them laughing, but it was the Gen Z folks that would get so offended at some of the things I said, even though they were childish. So I could be a little childish, but they're funny. And it's poking fun. When I make like all these like silly statements, I'm really poking fun at like racism. And a lot of people take that too serious. They choose not to understand that. That's the thing that always bothered me about I shouldn't say always bothered me, but I've told the story before. But I have a group of Black friends. Believe it or not, I do.
What?
But I know, but some of them are young. They're like Gen Zers, and so me and one of the older guys showed them that Chappelle Show skit, the White Like Me, not White Like Me, the Clayton Bigsby skit where he's the blind Black guy who thinks he's white, and they had never seen it before, because they were probably bored around the time that show came out.
Because they're so young.
Yes. And I thought they were going to laugh their asses off, but that didn't happen. Like their jaws dropped. They were so shocked. They were like, this is bad, guys. This could really encourage some bad behavior. It's like, you don't get it. He's making fun of racism by saying these overtop things. Like when he says all these N words going around, breathing up the white man's hair. That's funny because it's so ridiculous. Like, how do you not understand this? So I'm like, do young people like choose not to understand irony when it's being used to make some kind of social commentary, or they generally just don't understand it?
I think here's what I think. They grew up in a time when it was like beaten out of them, figuratively beaten out of them, because of course they weren't allowed to, parents were told not to physically discipline, just to cut their kids' genitals off. But that's what they were doing, sterilizing, cutting genitals off, but no spanking, right? But I mean, figuratively, sense of humor was like conditioned out of them is a better word. They were conditioned not to laugh at things. I think they have so much fear they have to get rid of. Do you think that's what I think? Some of it's just fear. They've just been completely conditioned to be fearful.
Yeah,
of laughing.
Because I know a lot of them aren't like super smart, but I think they're smart enough to pick up and understand what's happening. Just choose not to understand it. That's the frustrating thing. I'm like, but this is still aligned to what you want to do. You don't like racism, and this is making fun of racism. And, I mean, it's like Mel Brooks. He did a whole movie where he had the play, the producers with. They're pretending to be Nazis and doing a show with, singing Nazis and stuff. And like, it's clearly making fun of Nazis and racism. But some people think, oh, well, that you're trying to trivialize it and, downplay some of the atrocities. It's like, no.
They don't get humor. They've been conditioned not to even get humor. Mm-hmm. They think, and think about the late night comedy, because the woke late night shows started around 2011, 2010, so 15 years ago. These young people grew up with this very sanitized PC late night shows where instead of hearing real laughter, they heard canned laughter and clapter. That's what they think comedy is. They heard clapping. They think something's funny, you clap. No. Something's funny, you laugh so hard you can't breathe and you almost hurt your surgery stitches, like I have done recently. By the way, speaking of jokes, in honor of the news and today's episode and what's going on with the whites only community, my Latinx husband has declared our kitchen and our laundry room whites only.
Nice.
Do you get that joke?
Yes.
Okay. It's just a joke. He actually cooks and cleans a lot. I just thought it's funny. I gotta work on it some more. I gotta massage it some more. My husband has declared the kitchen and the laundry room whites only.
Whites only.
It's for you, white wife. Okay. Nobody. Okay. I'm gonna be that person who's like, please laugh.
Jeb Bush. Please laugh.
Please clap. Please clap. Okay, let's get into some fun stuff real quick. I'll fight you naked's here. Hey, what's up for $2? Thanks for the super chat. Says, I told my Asian wife we should apply to the whites only community. That's what you mean, right? And see what happens. What would they say? And we just had a quick question for you. It's from Surly Wolf says, Chris, can you speak jive?
Some bad mother, lay her down and smack them yakking.
Look at Can.
Stewardess, I can speak jive.
I bet those young Gen Z friends of yours that you were talking about don't even get that reference because they haven't seen Naked Gun or anything.
No. That makes me sad. See, that's the thing that like makes me feel like old, even though I don't consider myself old, but it just makes me feel old when the culture we kind of grew up in is just has a lot less relevance to a lot of younger people. And I understand there's a lot of entertainment options and, you know, why watch a bunch of old stuff and then just watch a bunch of new stuff, even though a lot of it's not very good. But still, it just seems like a lot of them just don't appreciate a lot of the things that were happening in culture at the time. And they're unwilling or uninterested to kind of view those things in the context in which they came out in. And that's what makes it interesting to me. And that's one of the things I love about pop culture. We kind of examine things in their cultural context.
In their correct context, yes.
Yeah. So that's why I was so shocked when I got reported to HR. I told that story before about a couple of times.
Oh, again, there's new people here. Even now, this story, I love this story. You guys, if you don't know this, settle in. Uncle Mystery Chris is going to tell you.
Which funny, people keep like saying I sound like Uncle Ruckus, and I keep thinking like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because I've never really watched the Boondocks.
So the Boondocks is great.
Yeah, but so it was a couple times I got reported to HR. The first time was so set it up. We would do meetings in the morning where all the project managers kind of check in and people get updates on where they are with the project. And we rotate leaders of this particular meeting, and whoever was leading the meeting for that day would ask kind of like a roll call question that people would all respond to, and they'd be checked off on a list. And so it was my turn. Instead of asking one of the stupid questions that people always ask, like, if you were a dog, what kind of dog would you be? I'm not going to ask, that's stupid. So I asked, true or false, you should never trust a big butt and a smile.
That's the question I forgot. You said true or false. You should never trust a big butt and a smile. And this is a company in woke Austin where you already had to do a DEI training. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what happened to you?
So, like I said earlier, all the millennials and Gen Xers on the call, they were all like singing along. I thought it was funny. I didn't think anything about it until the following day. My boss comes to me and goes, Mr. Chris, somebody reported to you about your comments yesterday. You've been reported to HR.
Lyric.
You need to be careful of the things you say. Yes, and that's the thing I thought that younger people get. I thought there'd be a better chance younger people would get it because I thought younger people were cool. Like I thought they listened to like, rap music from the 90s, but apparently not. They have no idea what Belle Biv DeVoe is. And so, and I thought it was silly too. I used the term butt, like that's silly. And so, yeah, that was the first time I got reported. And then the second time.
You got reported because it was offensive.
Yeah, so dumb. But the second time, so again, same setup. I was leading a meeting, and this was in the month of February. So I go, in honor of Black History Month and to help celebrate Black voices, which are the following rappers have the most funky, fresh rhymes of all time. Vanilla Ice, Eminem, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, the Beastie Boys, Kid Rock. Everyone gives their answers, and
These are all white rappers.
Well, I say, thank you for helping celebrate Black voices. And again, I didn't think anything about it till the following day. My boss comes to me and goes, Mr. Chris, somebody reported to HR about your little joke yesterday. And we all here agree that you need to reread the diversity, equity, and inclusion documents.
No, and you're one of the few Black people in the office.
Yes, I was the only Black person on that call. And it's all white people except for one Asian, and Asians don't care about that shit. So
you were the only Black person on the call.
Yes.
And they reported you for being racist to Black people.
Yes. It has to be, I think it was a white woman. It has to be a white woman.
Of course it was a white woman.
It may be my boss. Some of the people I was telling who worked with me, that may be my boss, because my boss, she was on the call and she didn't answer the question. And so I'm wondering, did she report me?
She reported you the only black person for being offensive to black people.
Yeah.
This is woke in a nutshell. I gotta clip this story because it just cracks me up every time. And then what? Did they make you do the DEI training again?
Yeah. So I had to read the stupid documents, and I'm thinking the whole time, like, bitch, I am diversity. Why do I need to rewrite these? It's dumb.
Bitch, I am diversity.
I am diversity.
Like Fauci, I am the science. You should have had a B word. I am diversity.
So I want my tombstone. Bitch, I am diversity.
That is how they use the word diversity. They don't actually mean diversity. They just mean black people.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, thanks for telling that. That was a little departure. Okay, to lead into we are going to be watching part of this documentary about the whites only town in Arkansas that's getting a lot of attention, and then we'll jump around a little bit in the video, but I want to hear what you think about this. But first I want to thank Mr. John Bertram for the 25-pound super chat. Thank you so much for supporting the show Deprogrammed. I know we had a little back and forth, and I'm glad you're still here, Mr. Bertram. Thanks for being here. If I could say it in a British accent, I would, but I can't. I'm bad with accents, except for the Southern one. Okay, here we go. This is what's getting everybody, all the media's all riled up.
And this is from Sun News. Sun News is like the more conservative leaning, supposedly conservative leaning one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
At least this Australian version. Because I think Sun News is still owned by Rupert Murdoch.
Let's go.
What we've done here is establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are.
First of all, let me just back it up to this house. This is ugly. I just have something to say about this. This is not related to the race only. Do not build houses like this. They are putting up prefab houses like this near me. It's disgusting. Like, take some time with the aesthetic to make it look pleasing to the eye. This is a box. This is a box. Do you understand? There's no architectural there's no shadows, there's no overhangs, there's no details, there's nothing that makes this attractive to the eye. When you see it, naturally your gut is like, ugh, because it's a little like, ugh, like this is just, it looks like humans, we are creatures of God. We deserve to create beauty. Like we should create beauty around us out of the land. You can take a little bit more effort to make it beautiful and still fit as many people in there. Just spend a little bit more effort. Sorry. Yes, thank you, Charisse. This is my rant. That house is hideous. This house is hideous. And this is one of my biggest pet peeves. I don't care. I'm becoming a Karen about it. I want to get on my city council, be like, no ugly houses. Okay, development's cool, but just make it aesthetically pleasing. And I'm really disappointed in you white people. Look at your I'm always hearing about our history and our history architecture, and this is what we've done. This is the best you can do on the whites only community. No, you can do better. Okay, that's it.
That actually be cool, like if they fully like embrace the concept and like build all this like Greek architecture, Roman architecture. That'd be actually kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like if they went full hog and were like building really beautiful buildings, and this looks like a prefab. Yes, thank you. Somebody, none your business. Who wouldn't like the look of two trailers stacked up? No, but see, it's not a work in progress. I hear you, but it's not, because there's no overhang here. This is just flush. Like the first story and the second story are just flush. This is someone who did not consult an architect or someone who knows about form and flow and is talented in that area. This is a person who, if you watch the old Roger Scruton documentary about beauty and function And the beauty matters, I think is what it's called. Why beauty matters. Beauty matters because over time, nobody wants to preserve a building that looks like this. Nobody cares. It's not going to last. And it's probably prefab material. So it's definitely not going to last. But the point being, nobody cares to fix it up when it falls into disrepair because it's ugly. This is why communist like architecture is so like, it's so ugly. It's demoralizing. It's like it's treating people like ants in an ant colony. So, okay, I know this is not the architecture show. Let's get going. But come on, white people.
We do have an architecture episode we did a while back. So if anyone hasn't seen that, check that out.
Yeah, go check out our architecture episode. And come on, whites only. I expect better of you.
Control over who our neighbors are, and that is just for the sake of preserving, our culture.
And that culture, effectively, we're saying this is a white culture, a whites only place.
White American culture.
Over the last year and a half, high up in the Ozark Hills in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, leveling the land, building houses. They call it an intentional community based around shared ancestry, a long-winded way of saying something really quite simple.
I think we would generally be called far right. Sure.
It's called Return to the Land, and they invited me in.
A lot of people are going to be, why are you making Nazi references?
Right. Well, why wouldn't I?
Seemingly bucolic.
Well, why wouldn't I make that? Can we got to pause here. We have to pause this so we don't get a copyright strike anyway. Let me just say something about this. You and I were talking about this yesterday. Privately, well, off camera anyway. We are living in interesting times. I know you've been following some of the stuff I've been covering about all this sort of rise in Hitler praise and stuff among young people and podcasters and influencers with lots of followers, been moving into this territory of like pushing this idea that we need to, much like Nicole, what's her name? I'm blanking. The 1619 Project lady. Who was pushing this reimagining of history and teaching kids that our country is a white supremacist patriarchy and we need to reimagine the founding of America that way. And anyway, these Hitler revisionists are pretty similar. Like they're like, yeah, we are white supremacist world and we should be, and we need to reimagine history this way. And they've been trying to cast Hitler as the hero. And people like this in this whites only community, I've been encountering more and more people like this. They're not all bots who are saying crazy stuff like, why wouldn't I share Nazi propaganda? Hitler's great. Like they say stuff like this. And one of the things they do, I was telling you this yesterday. I'll try and make this brief. Just be aware of this. They set up in your comments, or they set up when they're having these conversations with you, they do a really obvious false choice. It's called the false choice or the either or fallacy. They try and make you pick between two bad things. They do this all the time. Like they're like, it's basically the way that the commies say, if you're not a commie, you're a fascist. Like they try and pretend like those are the only two options. Well, they do the same. And one of these Nazi apologists was in my comments yesterday, and he was like, this is basically what they're saying. He's like, well, they say a bunch of true things. They're like, civilization's definitely in decline, and morally, and the family that has being attacked and destroyed, the whole institution of the family, and we have a huge immigration crisis with globalism, where we've just had this open border policy that's destroying our countries, that's destroying civilization. Like we have all these problems. We've just let in this child mutilating ideology that's just taking us backwards, and communism was awful, and so therefore Hitler's not a bad guy. And I'm like, wait, what? Like they're leading up to, this is how they're justifying it. They're saying you have to choose, like if you believe all of this, therefore Hitler was the real hero. I'm like, wait, that doesn't follow. That doesn't logically follow. How did you get there? Like, does that make sense? Have you heard this?
Yeah, well, I just find it a little odd because, Hitler hated a lot of groups that were considered white. Like, he hated Slavs. Like, he was a German nationalist. That's what he cared about. So it's just kind of odd to have this view that he was, fighting for, all whites in Europe. It's like, no, he hated a lot of them. It's just Germans. So he cared.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird. Anyway, thanks for letting me pause. This kind of stuff is just becoming more common. And if you're not aware of it, the normal reaction of a friend of mine from X was saying, a friend of mine, I say an online friend who I don't know in real life, but was talking in this group and was like, a family member, I showed a family member that podcast episode, Fresh and Fit, where they were saying positive stuff about Hitler and like praising Hitler, and the family member started crying. And I'm like, that's a normal reaction. That is a normal person's reaction because they're not on X. They don't see all the stuff we see every day. They don't realize it's increasing, that it's becoming more common. And so a normal person is like, it hits them emotionally, Okay. So yeah. So you got this guy who's casually like, why wouldn't I make Nazi references?
Sometimes surreal experience.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, sometimes it could be a little tough to determine whether people are saying these things tongue in cheek versus if they're serious.
Yeah, that's the issue too, is that because, see, a lot of this it's a reaction to the woke left. It's the right hand of the woke left. They created this boogeyman that they wanted. And so because the woke left for 15 years at least has been calling everyone a Nazi and calling everyone Hitler and calling everyone a fascist, incorrectly using all those words, calling everyone a racist, calling everyone a white supremacist, incorrectly using all those words, they're developed this really irreverent and cheeky sense of humor that I love, where people, the kind of jokes you make, the kind of jokes I make, like this irreverent and cheeky sense of humor about all that stuff that just cracks me up. And a lot of us have become very comfortable with those kind of the taboo, supposedly taboo now these days, jokes and stuff. But I think because of that, we're not, some of us, I'm seeing it, but a lot of people don't seem to be seeing that a whole group of people is moving past the irreverent humor and are seriously moving over into like saying, yeah, I am a fascist. Yeah, I am a white nationalist. Yeah, I do like, they're saying stuff like that. They're not joking. They'll tell you they're not joking. And so just because you're in that area of like, let's make fun of the woke, calling everybody Nazi, calling everybody, incorrectly calling everybody that, and we're going to use humor to make fun of that, and you just assume that these people over here are joke. They're not joking. Stop using the N word, please. Which N word? No. No.
Nazi.
Oh no! Oh, the Nazi word. Yeah, I don't know all the YouTube rules. This is why one reason why my videos. I think there's all these rules that people follow that I don't follow them, and so that means my videos don't get out there, I guess, as easily as they could. Because if you say that word, your video's like done. Like they're not going to recommend it, and I've said it probably 100 times. So.
But it's weird because, I'll watch a lot of live streams and people will talk about certain words that they can't say because they're concerned about, not being monetized. So like the R word regarding sexual assault, many of them won't say that. So grape or whatever. But I've seen some videos that are monetized in which people do say these words, or they do talk about Hitler or even talk about the event that happened in World War II.
I think the rules have something to do monetization. It's within the first 10 or 15 minutes. You can't say those words, but but then after that you can say those words, but your video is not going to get recommended in the algorithm. So basically all I know is I've said those words enough that anyway, this video is not going to go anywhere, which is fine.
That ship sailed a long time ago.
Ship sailed. This is for us, fam. If anybody is a nerd and cares about algorithms and like really loves that kind of stuff and wants to help the channel deprogram, figure all that stuff out and tell me, at least like say, hey, maybe you should try this or try that, and then I can say yes or no, let me know. I will listen to your advice. I may choose to take some of it and not take others because I want to be able to say what I think and not. I don't like it when people come up with fake words for, all these things that you're not supposed to say,
I hate it. I hate the self-censorship.
Yeah. I don't like having to come up with self-delete. People say self-delete. You're saying the same thing. When YouTube will start censoring that eventually. You know what I mean? You're just changing it's unnaturally changing the language. Yeah, Texas Sheepley. Thankfully, Keri has no YouTube filter. Who cares? Right. I hit the Nazi quote on this video.
As long as I can still say midget, because I love saying midget.
Oh gosh, now we're definitely not getting monetized. Okay, it's the midgets who control everything, right?
Terrifying. I don't know where they're at.
I'm on the midget payroll.
The lollipop kind.
But this is built on a radical modern premise, made possible because of a new political and technological moment. One with strong ties to the most active far-right groups in the US.
They had to include them.
Instead of taking to the streets, they are building their own for generations to come.
It's important for me to do this for my ancestors, my friends, my family, my children, my children's children.
But in this southern US state, people who have lived through segregation once fear it is returning.
When you hear things like that, it causes you to be fearful. And you don't know who to trust.
Its founder says he is building a fortress for the white race.
It's a racial association. I kind of want to ask you, after seeing this, do you think what we're doing is immoral?
Arkansas, in the southern United States.
Welcome to Little Rock, where the local time is 4:27.
For the last few years, I've been exploring how an ethno-nationalist movement has been organizing online. A network that aims to define countries by ethnicity, but which links across borders. And this is the place that one group has chosen to put that into
Again, these ugly houses and barns, white people. Look, if you're a white nationalist and you're a white supremacist and, be supreme in your architecture, like be the best. Why?
Radical real world action.
You want a white nation? Build a white town. It can be done, and we're doing it.
It is an extreme view, but it draws on more familiar arguments. That mass immigration is out of control, that Western societies are in danger of losing their fundamental character as a result.
So one of the arguments here is that this isn't about persecution of an ethnic identity, but protection of an ethnic identity, and that identity happens to be white. So we're going here now up into these pretty remote woods to really put that to the test.
Okay, let's pause here. I want to ask you some questions about this. So, do you find it odd that they're talking about preserving a white identity? Like specifically that word white?
I do think it's odd. Oftentimes when I hear them talk about the white identity, why they don't put right wing in front of that? Because whiteness is very broad, particularly here in America. So
exactly,
whites in San Francisco, their culture and values are going to be quite different than whites in rural Alabama and Mississippi. And so it's kind of odd to try to foster some kind of coalition amongst all whites and create a white identity when so many whites are on the left. What, maybe half of all white people are left or left-leaning who absolutely hate the right wing, especially the far right. So that was always kind of odd to me how they don't, put more emphasis on just the right wing part of the ideology and just instead of just going purely on race.
Yes, it's interesting to me because it reduces all of these different ethnic groups to just white, the same way that woke left does. Like they call us all white. They don't make distinctions, and it's sort of as if there's this big homogenous, white identity.
Right.
And I know that over time, like, we've now got like second, third, fourth generation white Americans who have lost a lot of that ethnic heritage, which is kind of what they're talking about, like losing your heritage, losing your culture. But it's just sort of, I don't know, it's just strange to me that if you're going to make an effort to preserve the culture, like, why is it this big sort of homogenous, like, white, instead of saying like, hey, this is a German community and that's who we want to move here, and people who want to learn about their German heritage or whatever. This is Irish. I guess it's because everybody's all mixed now.
Yeah, it's just too broad.
Yeah.
And even like amongst a lot of minorities, you know, they'll get upset if you lump them in together with people from other countries that are around the countries that either they immigrated from or their ancestors are from. And so even amongst us Blacks, I don't know if you've seen, but there's a whole, I guess, movement, you would call it, Foundational Black Americans. They call them FBAs. And so these are Blacks who separate themselves from the Blacks who have immigrated from Africa. So they consider real Blacks as being the Blacks whose ancestors were brought here as slaves.
Oh, okay.
And they refer to the Africans who immigrated here as tethers. And so they're upset that, you know, these immigrants are some of them who I don't even know how many immigrants are actually openly identifying as Black anyway, because many of them, if you're from Nigeria, I don't know if
you're writing down Nigerian. You're not saying I'm Nigerian.
But a lot of the FBAs don't want these Black immigrants to be eligible for reparations or anything that's given to us Blacks in order to deal or offset, you know, racial grievances from the past or whatever. So, wow. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, you should. Listen to
I have
spaces.
A leg up. I have a leg up because I've been here for several my family. I'm a multi-generational family here. I have a leg up, and therefore I deserve more government assistance than like a new legal immigrant. That's basically the argument?
Yeah. Because they say that the immigrants didn't go through the struggle that us Blacks whose ancestors brought here. Even though we personally
you didn't go through the struggle.
Exactly, but still they say because our ancestors, you know, had to struggle.
I didn't go through the struggle that my ancestors did, and they struggled. I've seen pictures of, you know, what life was like, the Great Depression, and before that. Like, come on. This whole victimhood thing of like, oh, it makes me sick it makes me sick when people are like, my great grandparents. Okay, that's not you. That's not you. Okay. Oh, I just wanted to say hey to Brahma Bull. Hey, what's up, Brahma Bull? Says, I don't like this any more than I like Muslims trying to do the same thing in Texas. Well, let's get into it. What do you, I think people have certainly have mixed opinions about it. Mm-hmm. Texas Sheep Lady points out, she says, people have always gathered with like-minded folks. I know several groups, like-minded folks. Okay. Like-minded folks, I agree. But I think that's a little, this doesn't bother me so much. We've seen this before. There's a Black separatist community I've got a video of I can put up next that the media did not freak out about. But we've seen this before. But like-minded folks, when you are, I guess it depends on like how hard line are they on the race thing. Because as we mentioned, everybody's mixed. I mean, how are they even determining, are you white enough or not? Mm-hmm. How do they even decide that? And then what about like someone in the chat was joking about, a white guy was joking about him and his Asian wife applying. What would they say? Well, what if you have kids with your Asian wife who are half white? Are they going to turn you guys away because I don't know. Are they? And if they are, like, are they turning away like-minded people? So what are your thoughts about it?
I mean, I support the right for them to do it. It's private property that someone bought and they want to, you know, invite whoever they want, then that's on them. But I do think it's kind of a flawed approach, you know, because I get the logic that they're using, even though I don't fully agree with it, but I do get the logic that, you know, a lot of minority groups will tend to have a in-group preference. And so there's always a lot of them, people kind of think that there's a threat of cultural subversion coming from people who aren't white. But like we mentioned earlier, a lot of that cultural subversion can still come through other people who are white. And so to me, it just seems kind of flawed if you're trying to, again, foster this kind of coalition amongst whites. And there's always going to be more whites who don't fully agree with you. And even over time, a lot of them are still going to try to change things, change the values, because you just won't be able to control that. You know, I mean, look at, you know, there are a lot of conservative women who identify as conservative, but do have a lot of major feminist beliefs. I mean, you could think a lot of high profile ones like Tommy Lauren or Lauren Southern. You know, they talked about, you know, trad wives and living the trad life, but many of them don't actually believe that. And so there's always going to be a threat from that subversion to whatever cultural values you think coming from people who look like you. So
Yeah. The in-group bias, in-group preference is normal. This is something, and by normal, I mean, this is average. This is what you see. And if you think about it, you can understand why why it's normal, why it's on average, you see an in-group preference, of course, because you're going to have a preference to people who are closer to you, who are more like you, who, you know, starting with your family, who are the closest, right? Let me bring up this chart, because this is a chart that I see a lot of people sharing lately, and this is important because I think a lot of leftists don't even realize this. Let me see if I can get this one on. Have you seen this chart recently? This is about in-group, out-group bias. Okay, so what's happened with all this woke stuff in this country is that white liberals are the one group that doesn't have an in-group preference. They actually have an out-group preference. Like,
the thing I don't understand too. Like, they care more about like poor people in other countries than do about poor people here.
Yes, they care more about, or at least they say they care more about other races than they do about white people. They care more about people in other countries than they do about Americans. They have basically been, this is sort of what we were talking about earlier when you asked about what's going on with these young people, you know, who don't laugh. They have been conditioned to hate themselves. White liberals, white people who think of themselves as liberals anyway, but white leftists have been conditioned to hate themselves. And also to idolize in this weird racist way Black people, and you know what they call people of color, like to idolize and put on some pedestal. That's why I'm shocked that they actually reprimanded you at your job that you mentioned where you got called in, because I thought that would have been like, well, the Black guy says it, I guess.
Yeah, it was part of my culture, and they care about honoring Black culture. And these kind of jokes are jokes that many Black comedians have made.
Right. You guys see this chart? So I'll just explain it quickly. This is a mean in-group bias by race and ethnicity. Scores denote the mean, so meaning the average differences in warmth between in-group and out-group feeling thermometers. So you've got Black people here, that's in the blue. They have a 15.58% in-group bias. You've got Hispanic next to that. They're in the red. They have a 12.83. You've got Asian. It's a little bit higher than Hispanics, 13.94. You've got white liberals, people who call themselves white liberals, negative 13.17. That's the yellow that goes down there. Negative 13.17 that's how much they hate their own group. Then you've got non-liberal whites, still have less than all the others, 11.62 for in-group. They do have an in-group preference though, like normal. I just thought that was important to put up.
And when I saw this clip, when I texted you about it, like, I knew this was going to eventually happen, because looking online, seeing a lot of the more white nationalist circles, how many of them understand that you're not going to be able to make America into an all-white country, or even bring it back to like 90-something% white like it was decades ago. So I think a lot of them are talking about, you know, separating themselves. And so I knew that as that talk started to spill into the real world, we were going to start to see more things like this.
Yep.
And once we start to see more things like that, there's going to be more media coverage, and then there's going to be more pressure from the government, because a lot of these white people are not allowed to separate themselves and reject not only multiculturalism, but also not reject multiracialism. And so I kind of think, like, eventually, you know, when we have a administration that's not so friendly to Americans, American rights. I do think there'll be more clashes between groups like this and the government. You know, I don't know if it'll become violent, but it could turn to something like Ruby Ridge. I don't know, but it just seems like, because again, I have that libertarian mindset of freedom of association and stuff, but the more I think about it, the more I think it's just not realistic to ever expect America to fully embrace a position like that, because I think whatever group is in the majority will always view the existence of that minority group as a threat to their belief structures. So like in segregate itself, the problem I had with segregation itself was that there were whites who wanted to fraternize with blacks and to hang out with blacks and date blacks, but there were whites who didn't want that. And so they created laws and even used violence to prevent that from happening. And in my view, that should have allowed whoever wanted to associate with whoever do that. If you don't want to associate with some other people, then don't do that. But now when you have a lot of whites who are starting to kind of separate from the rest of America and from other races, I think you're going to see more pressure on that to try to reel them back in, because just the idea that people reject this kind of more liberal view towards, you know, society and race and, you know, racial harmony, I think is not going to be allowed.
Yes. Oh, okay. So first of all, I have 3 questions for you. I agree with you. We're going to see more of this. And it's also going to be used as a crackdown to push government intervention. Arkansas is already saying, the attorney general is already saying he's going to try and shut this down. So let's start with this. First of all, is this real? Are these feds? There's people in the chat asking, are these feds? They talked about how they're associated with Patriot Front. I saw.
Well, I don't even know if did they say they're associated, because they spliced in a clip with Patriot Front, because they always have to do that. Show these very obvious feds, in my opinion. But I don't know if these particular people, because the whole time when I was watching the video, I was thinking like, what was the plan of these people? Because at first I thought like, oh, this might backfire on them. But then I was reading the comments and seeing a lot of people saying what basically I was saying, and I think maybe you were saying, like, hey, these people have the right, may not fully agree with them on some things, but they have the right to do this. And so I was thinking like, maybe this is a recruitment tool, and they're trying to bring more people to the community and also kind of maybe normalize it a little bit more, because maybe they do see that a lot of people are a little bit more okay with this idea. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but I don't know if it feds, but
I'll Fight You Naked for $2 says, are they feds, retards, or retards tricked by feds? Being used by feds. Look, here's the thing. I don't know if they're feds or not. I do know they've interacted with people who I think are, or who are on the payroll, like Fuentes, you know, who are paid to stand next to other people and make them look bad, right? Who are just jokes. I know they've done interviews with, but who's to say if they're, I don't know, if they're not sincere, there are sincere communities like this. There are sincere people like this. So either way, we should address it, because I think you're right. We're going to see more of it, whether this particular one is set up by the feds or not, you know?
And also, it's like, as I was reading some of the comments, some people were making the accusation that this was a cult. And I was curious what you would think. Like, if you see any vibes, I don't think they're a cult, but I don't know. Like, there's one part in the video where.
Go ahead.
Oh, there's one part of the video where it talks about how a number of the women in the group have met their significant others here and stuff. And I was kind of thinking about that, but my cynical mind thinks like, is there any kind of like wife swapping and stuff going on here? Because people can be a little weird in environments like this. And so I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much.
Meeting your spouse there is not that doesn't make me think that's not like a cult character. Oh, you met your spouse there. So what? You can meet your spouse at book club. Is that a cult? Do you know, you can meet your spouse at that's not a cult characteristic. But like you said, are there weird practices going on? I would have to know more about their community. You would have to get the inside dirt from somebody who's in there to know. Like, I know somebody who left a church that I consider to be cult-like, and that church was doing weird things that you only hear about from somebody who leaves, right? Where they're like pressuring people to drink and take drugs and things like this, and stay up all night, and the cult kind of things, lack of sleep. So I don't know. You would have to know more about based on this video, are they a cult? No, I don't think there's anything in here that necessarily is like meeting the cult characteristics. Do they have a charismatic leader? That's one of the characteristics. Well, it depends on how charismatic you think he is. I'm kidding, but no, I mean, maybe, but even then you can have a charismatic, you can meet one cult character. That's why you have a whole list of characteristics and traits to try and see if this is, if you're evaluating something, not just whether something's a cult, but with anything, you'll have a list of characteristics. And it's like, here's, if you meet, 8 out of the 10, then yes, maybe. So just because they have a charismatic leader also doesn't make it cult-like. Can they leave if they want to without being trashed and stalked and surveilled like Scientologist people are? Can they leave without that happening and their lives being ruined? That's a big question. Seems like they can. Let me show you. Let's show the audience this. If they haven't seen it, I want to show them this comparison. Because I've asked you, is it real? I have another question for you that I'm going to ask after this one. I have 3 questions.
Is this the black version?
Yes. Okay. So this person had a great point. They said, white people creates a whites only town. Create a whites only town. Media. This is literally segregation. Black people create a blacks only town. Media. Nothing. Here we go. This is a clip about, it was covered at least, but let's see how they cover it. This is from CNN.
You hear that? That is the sound of freedom.
Feels really amazing. I cry every time I come here.
Why were these 2 women interested in the prospect of buying a town in the first place?
We needed to create a space and a place where we could be a village again, a tribe again.
So Renee and Ashley reached out to family and friends, and together they bought what they intend to name Freedom, Georgia, a new black city. The owners hosted the Big Black Campout over Labor Day weekend, supporting from across the country.
That is our vision, and to be able to pass this land down to my children and to the children that are represented by each of our 19 families as a piece of legacy. We're hoping to create legacy.
You hear that? That
okay.
thing still hasn't even been built.
It hasn't been? That was
No.
5 years ago?
They still, I guess sometimes they go and have little camp outs, but yeah, there's no buildings or anything.
Well, what do you think about the way that's presented by the media versus the way the media is reacting to the whites only town? So that's the blacks only town, Freedom, Georgia. What do you think about the way the media is reacting to that or presenting it?
Yeah, it's hypocritical. Honestly, like I said, it's like they don't like when white people try to move away from non-whites. They'll tolerate other, minority groups doing that, but whites, that can't be allowed.
Yes. So they have it's this double standard, and this is what I'm going back to the plea I was making at the beginning to any white leftists who are watching, wokies. I know I'm still friends with you who sometimes watch and get upset with me. Let me say this to you so that you hear it. Your double standards, your hypocritical woke religion where you support segregation, racial segregation, as long as it's white people being demeaned. You support racial segregation as long as it's initiated by what you call people of color, right? Then that is, if you support all of that, if your ideology supports all of that and you have these double standards, don't act shocked when white people are like, well, we're going to segregate then. Yeah. Don't act shocked.
This is inevitable.
Of course.
By the way, I was wondering too, at the white only town, are they allowed to listen or watch black media? What happens if one of them gets discovered listening to Jay-Z or something? Do they any get reprogrammed? Re-educated?
I have a list of questions for them. Maybe I should invite that guy on and ask him, can you listen to a Sammy Davis Jr. record or just have certain cultural things is that allowed? I bet it would be.
Maybe if they get caught, they get sent to a room where they have to listen to Barry Manilow 24/7.
No, it's John Denver. It's John Denver.
Is that the whitest
Yeah.
artist?
You're about to listen to some John Denver, boy. What you been? Rocky Mountain High.
I've seen the error of my ways.
Okay, let's I've got some things in the chat I want to get to in a second. Look, T Swan, just I know you're saying some things that are riling people up. Now, I leave it up to the mods to decide what to do about it because I don't have time to look at all of it, but generally I allow people to say foul things as long as they're not being rude and abusive to other people in the chat or trolling or spamming. But you can have bad ideology and share bad ideas, and people can either ignore you or they can choose to respond to it. But if you get to a point where you're derailing, like, I leave that up to the mods. I welcome leftists in the chat too to do the same. So wokies in the chat, because I hope people who have what I believe to be bad ideologies, who are on a bad path, whether it's woke left or what's called woke right, or fascism, white supremacy, if you're on that path, like, I hope you stick around and we can help get you out of that. I'll be open about it. Yeah. I'm hoping to recruit you. You're trying to recruit us. I'm hoping to recruit you. He says, I hear you. Cool. Yeah. And generally, I think I've seen, you're pretty good in the chat. I haven't seen everything. Okay. But hey, this guest is saying nothing. First of all, Mystery Chris is not a guest. I know you're new here.
I spoke jive. Come on now.
He spoke jive. What do you... Mr. Chris is my co-host on a Wednesday night show we do called Pop Culture, where we go down different pop culture dives. We do it every other... Well, we used to do it every other Wednesday. We haven't done it a whole lot this year for various reasons, but we're going to be bringing it back soon. So he is a co-host here at Deprogrammed, and he spoke jive. Okay, so now that I've shown you the Black separatist community, we've talked about that. Everybody's seen that. We can go back and watch more of the white separatist community, but first I want to get to my second question. So the first question was, is this even real? Are these feds, and does that matter? And the second question is, should this be allowed legally? I know people who are saying this should not be allowed. The Attorney General right now is saying that he's going to try to shut this down in Arkansas. Should people be allowed to buy private land and through freedom of association say, this land is for people who share my race? I'm going to sell it to people who share my race.
I mean, I think they should, but I'm just curious about the legality of it and how it's set up. Because if people are having to take out loans to buy, whatever property that whoever owns the entire area is selling to them, could they go after them that way because they're using it for purposes that might be considered, unconstitutional or a violation of the Civil Rights Act? That's what I'm curious about, how this is set up. Perhaps maybe these people who are settling on this land, or maybe they're giving donations to the person who owns the land, and so it's more set up like, again, cult, not that I'm calling it a cult, but a lot of cults kind of do that, where it's people giving donations rather than people just outright buying property. I don't know. I think there's a lot of avenues that the government's going to try to go after these people legally. So yeah, it has to be set up in a specific way to avoid that.
Yeah, they need to, legally, I think it is allowed. They have to just make sure they're following the law and how they do it, right? Like we're saying. But should it be allowed? We're talking about a should, like an ought. There are people who are saying there should be no legal way for you to do this. What do you think about that? I think that's wrong.
I'm for people being able to do this. Like I said, it's their private property.
Yes.
So it's just like a house. Can I not say who comes into my house? Do I have to invite, somebody of a different race because they're of a different race? Like, yes, that's the way I look at it.
Whether you agree or not that this is a good thing and people should do it. There's two different questions. Should people do this is different than should this be allowed? ought people be able to do this, right? So should it be allowed is a different question than should people do this. And so should it be allowed? Yes, I think so. Freedom of association. That's what you're saying too, right?
Yes.
Like no government should come in and be like, hey, sorry, I'm going to force you to sell your house. Like, let's say you own, in addition to your home, like 2 homes next door, and you decide to sell them, and you're like, and they come in and they're like, hey, we noticed you're selling to white people. We want you to accept this offer from this black person. Should they be allowed to force you? Or let's say you're a black person and you own 2 properties next to you and you're selling them and you're selling to a black family and they're like, sorry, no, you need to sell it to a white family. Is that something the government should be able to do? I don't think so.
Nope.
No. Okay. Third question is the should people do this question? And that's where you know, again, these are three different questions. Like, should people do this? Do you think this is a good idea for people to racially segregate into these towns and say, like, this is a black town and I'm gonna like do Freedom Georgia just for black people? And you know, would you move to a town like this? Do you think it's a good way to live?
I personally I like the idea of like doing kind of a homestead and stuff. I think that's positive, you know, but merely looking at it in terms of race, like, I mean, again, I understand their logic, but I just don't think it's going to work in the long run. But I don't know, I could be wrong.
I'm with you. I don't think it's going to work in the long run because you're tying it so strictly to race. If it were just an intentional community that's built around shared values and shared culture, and you know, but I think if you're being so strict about the race component, like you're not allowing for any you're not allowing for the room for like creativity and freedom and all the people that you're going to be excluding who might have actually had a better idea on how to build that ugly 2-story house you built. Like you probably, you know what I mean? Like there's people that you are not admitting in who would make your community better, who do share your values and would have that shared vision for you because you're being so strict about the racial component. And yeah, I do say this, T Swan earlier said something about, there was a comment, I think I marked it when I was saying that like everybody's mixed. Like, how do you determine if you're white enough for this town or black enough for a town? Or, you know, in that clip with the black community, for example, some of those children were definitely mixed. And
black people consider anybody with any black blood in them black.
But white racists do too. Anybody with black blood in them, they consider them black. So
that's what's so weird. It's like, why do us black people adhere to something that racist white people told us? Like, oh, you got the one drop, that means you're black. So us blacks are so desperate to be mixed with other races. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. So that's something T Swan was saying earlier in relation to that, was that it's nonsense that people are mixed. That's not true. Even yourself, T Swan, were saying that. I saw you in the comments. You were saying white is an identity. Well, you know why that's the case now? Because people are mixed. Like my family, how far can you trace your family back in your heritage? Like I know mine is predominantly English and Irish and some Scots mixed in there, but I don't, you know, beyond that, like we've lost a lot of that. So yeah, it's like mixed in those ways. And so how are people even proving if you're being so strict? Like, how are they coming in? Somebody in the chat said that their grandma or their great grandma was black, so they wouldn't be allowed in. And then T Swan was like, that's ridiculous. And it's like, is it ridiculous? I don't know the rules for this community. That's what I was asking. It's like, how strict are you? Lily of the Fox Valley. Oh, wait, this is a Fed compound. Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe
these are
everybody
all
has to submit a 23andMe.
Do they? Well, if you did 23 or me, then the feds definitely have your data, right? Okay, I'm putting this back up. Let's watch just a little bit more of this.
We are driving deep into the Ozark Mountains. The group's leaders are not from Arkansas, and they've chosen these remote parts for a reason. All the locals I spoke to knew only a little about the group, if anything.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but That's not my choice.
Yeah. But do you think they should have the freedom to do it?
That's what they want to do.
I think it's kind of a little fishy around here, but just be safe.
The leader of the group is called Eric Orr, and he's invited me to spend a few days with them.
Hey, Eric.
He insists what he is doing here is entirely legal, and that's key. Because if it is, it could be a blueprint for many other communities to come.
Welcome to the Ozarks.
Thank you very much.
What we've done here is establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are, and that is just for the sake of preserving, our culture.
And that culture, effectively, we're saying this is a white culture, a whites-only place.
White American culture. Yeah, not just white, but white American.
But what this sounds like is bringing back segregation. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I mean, it's free association. So we're not trying to keep other people down. This is a small settlement in the middle of the Ozarks.
But they are being kept out.
You don't let everyone into your home.
160 acres taking shape, forest cleared, roads laid, cabins built. Around 40 people live here. Hundreds more from across the world have paid to be members. And I'm intrigued to find out what motivates people to give up their old lives for this.
We met here.
Oh, you met here? I guess he came here.
I met her on like day 3. So.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a story. It beats Tinder, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah, right.
Met here. They got married last month. They wouldn't be here without social media.
Somebody had posted a video of Eric.
Yeah.
I saw videos of them actually building stuff on the land. I was like, oh man, I gotta come check this out.
And I figure if there's nothing else like this in the country, like it should at least exist.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh no. Tiger doesn't like this at all.
He's not a fan of all white town.
Let me just grab him. If you want to check out the chat or something, you can. I got to grab my dog.
Let's see. Might go over here. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of colleges. Dormitory. What are some dormitories that we're trying to segregate? Make all black dormitories, and I think it's like Ivy League schools. Let's see what else everybody's saying. Let's see. I just went into this town. That's all I want. Tiger. You're back.
This is Tiger for the new people. El Tigre. He hates the mailman. He hates UPS. I think it's UPS. He said. And he hates cats. That's who he hates. He loves you. It took him a while to warm up to you, though.
Yeah, because I called him a racist a bunch of times.
You did. Tiger, he got called a racist. You know, the only person he's never barked at who's come to, he barks at everybody who comes to our house, except for the Catholic priest down the road. When we're not Catholic, we don't go to the Catholic church, but my husband was raised Catholic, and then when we moved in this house, we thought we just wanted to have it blessed. And so we asked the priest down the road, who is, what did you call it before? Tethered? He's in he's from Africa.
Ah.
And I forget which country he's from, but anyway, he came. So he's a black Catholic priest, and he came to bless the house, and he's the only stranger that's ever come here, and the dog didn't bark. And so that's when we realized that Tiger is Catholic.
Or the priest was spiritually white.
He was spiritually white, yes. Okay, so we just had this on the stage. We were looking at the couple who met there, and this is when you were asking me earlier, like, is it a cult? I still don't think that meets cult requirements. It's like
No,
I said,
I
you
don't either,
could be anywhere, and it's just, like It's better than meeting on Tinder, right? You share interests. They share white separatist interests. So yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's watch a little bit more. Why are you giggling?
Just thinking about like a Tinder, like if it's like a racist Tinder or something, it's like first question you send them someone is like, do you like black people?
Oh, I'm sure. I think people are bonding over it. Like, totally. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Let me just use an anecdote to what we were talking about earlier about when you're so strict about something like race, which is not, it's not predictive of culture and of character and of IQ and all these things. Like, yes, there are differences between groups on average that you can look at, but there's always going to be a lot more overlap between groups if you understand the way bell curves and averages work. And so when you're talking about a country like America, which is really different than a lot of these European countries that are truly being like Germany, for example, which is so small and is changing right in front of our eyes because of mass migration, because of their open borders. You go into parts of Germany now where it doesn't even feel like Germany. And it's not the same. It's not like a melting pot country like America. It doesn't have the same history. It doesn't have the same founding. It's not the same size geographically. It doesn't have the Hispanic heritage that America has. It doesn't have the colonial heritage that America has, or the Native American heritage, like all these different groups, right? And the immigration heritage that we have, like from Ireland, places where my ancestors are from, like Ireland and England and everything. So it just doesn't have the melting pot history that we have. When you look at America, you've got a culture that has come together from all these different places. And so if you want to talk about, T-Swan wants to talk about how like white has become an identity, but so has American. So has American. It's become an identity. And so what were you going to say?
But I was like, do you think it is a melting pot?
I think it used to be. And what's happened is now because of the woke ideology, which is saying, oh, it's bad to have requirements for immigration. It's not bad. And, woke ideology, which says we should have open borders. We should just let people come in illegally, like willy-nilly, like they do in Europe. We should just, not throw people out, not force them to follow the laws. And because like the immigration policy that we have is there for a reason, because you want people to integrate into our culture, to assimilate into American culture and to speak our language and to pick up our customs. And they have to really want to do that. And they have to really become acquainted with our history and our language and our law. And you skip all of that. You don't just skip over people. You skip all of that assimilation period when you break the law and come here illegally. And that's what's been happening for decades now. And so, and while that was happening, woke ideology was also saying all this separatist crap about all these, different ethnicities that are coming in. They're saying all this separatist crap and saying that it's racist to expect people to speak English, which is our language here, saying that that's racist or something, and enforcing all this segregation. The woke have been doing this. And so now it's not so much a melting pot anymore. Now it's more like a salad. The woke have made it like a salad.
It needs to be tossed.
It needs to be tossed. The woke have made it where like the tomatoes are over here and the bacon's over here and everybody's separate and they speak their own language. And that's not going to.
But what would you say to
that
people
unites
who would,
everybody?
That would say that it's not a melting pot and hasn't been because so many groups have chosen to self-segregate. So like I'm from Houston. Houston's very diverse, but there are areas that are clearly Black areas, like the 3rd Ward, 5th Ward, areas that are heavily Hispanic, areas that are heavily, Asian, specifically Vietnamese. Like what would you say to those who are saying that is proof that America is not a melting pot?
But those groups, I don't think there's anything wrong. Like we were saying with freedom of association, and it's natural to be in communities that you have more in common with. And the communities are, remember, towns are extensions of the smallest, most basic societal building block, which is the family. And so the family, then you've got the town, the city. And so you're naturally going to be in places like that, enclaves that are more like, this is more of a black neighborhood, this is more of a white neighborhood, this is more of a like Irish American, whatever. If you go back and trace the ethnicity of all these different groups that they call white, right? Or this is more of an Italian neighborhood, like if you're talking about parts of New York, this is more Italian, or this is more Jewish, or this is more whatever, or Latino, like all of that's natural. But I don't think there was this, there were certain things that we shared in common that I think we've eroded. If you look back at the 80s, you know, Hulk Hogan passed away recently, and so I was watching a lot of old clips. And there was this sense of patriotism and shared, like a shared purpose and identity that I think we've chipped away at a lot of that and lost a lot of that. Woke ideology has not only taught white leftists, white people, young white people to hate themselves, and taught men that they should hate themselves for being men, and taught straight people they should, you know, you should hate yourself if you're not gay or queer, right, or trans. Like they've not only done all of this out-group, pushing this out-group preference and in-group hatred, but they've also done that with the concept of just being an American. While they've opened the borders and tried to destroy what being American means, they've taught young people to hate America. And so I think that there's less, even though we've always had those enclaves, like those different neighborhoods, like you said, that's this sort of natural in-group preference that happens. There's still like a lot of intra-group movement. There's a lot of intra-group. We're all like, for example, this is an anecdote. I give this example before, but when I was my senior year in college, I went to Tanzania for half a year and the study abroad program. And one of my friends on that trip was Black American, and you go abroad with a Black friend to a place that's Black, and you will realize right away you and your friend, who are both American, have so much more in common than your friend does with the people who share her race in this country. Like, it's never been more apparent. Like, that's an anecdote, but that tells you about the bonds of like culture and values and the way, you know, shared language, shared customs and way of speaking and sense of humor and way of dress and way of eating and the things that we find important and the way you think of yourselves, identity and everything, all of that. Of course, she's American. Duh. I know I'm kind of on a rant, but that's me trying to answer your question. Like, that doesn't. Sometimes I hear these white separatists, the people like, sorry, T-Swan, I don't mean to pick on you, but they say this stuff about race and culture, and I wonder if you're a white person who believes that. Have you ever been to a country that's predominantly Black, and do you really think that your Black American friends have more in common with the people in that country than they do with you? That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's always something I thought about, you know, how many of the white nationalist types have traveled the world. Same thing with a lot of leftists. How many of them have actually experienced other countries? I'm curious how many have, but still have their, you know, white nationalist views. I'm just curious.
I'm curious too. Yeah. Like, I don't know if they've traveled a lot. I don't know. Well, actually, I should just have you on the show, T-Swan. How does a white nationalist think, T-Swan? Because I have traveled. Okay. Okay. Let me see what people are saying. The U.S. has been using immigrants as a weapon against Americans for a long time. That's true. I agree with that.
And one of the differences too between the immigrants that came over during, or I should say at the end of the 19th century and beginning of 20th century, is that those European immigrants, many of them who didn't know any English or anything, they had no social safety net to fall back on. So they had to learn English. They had to assimilate, or else they had to go back to where they came from. And I think it's very different today when you have lots of social benefits and all sorts of programs for, you know, immigrants and illegal immigrants coming here. That's basically killing off any incentive that many of them should have to want to assimilate. And so I think that's a major difference between a lot of the immigrants, you know, now versus, you know, immigrants from the past.
Yeah. I have a follow-up question for T-Swan. you don't mind me asking. So T-Swan said, I have traveled, and then says, I went to Australia and experienced an all-white community for the first time. It was amazing. I'll never forget that feeling. Okay, but have you traveled to an all-black community or a predominantly black country? That's my question, because I think that's where you would see, like, oh, clearly my black American friends and I have this shared identity that my black American friends do not have with the people in this country. That's where you would have that. Like Michael Collier says, I lived in Djibouti for a year. The locals.
I don't know what that is. Djibouti. Never mind. I was not going to joke about Djibouti.
Never trust a big Djibouti and a smile. Callback. That's a call to callback.
Well done.
I lived in Djibouti for a year. The locals hated my African American coworker more than me because they resented him and were jealous. Look, this was my experience too. Well, I wouldn't say the locals in Tanzania hated my black friend, but they didn't treat her as well because they felt like she, as a black American, should have. They did want her to have more of a shared identity with them or something. Like, they really did not like the fact that she didn't speak Swahili, but they forgave that of white people. But with her, it was like, how dare you not know this, So, yeah, it was a different experience. Should we watch more of this? Is there another part of this I should skip to? This whites only community video? It's kind of long.
I'm trying to remember. No, you can just drag the.
Oh yeah. So they're talking about meeting. Let's go to this part where they're building stuff.
This is how the average weekend works at Return to the Land, or RTTL, what they call a work party, made up of residents, but also new recruits who have come to check out the project. It is hot, hard work. To join RTTL, you have to sign up to the Private Members Association, or PMA. And there are strict criteria for membership, as Scott Thomas, a board member and one of the founding fathers here, explains.
You have to be a PMA member to live here.
Yeah.
So you have to be someone of European heritage.
The group's logo, based on a Nordic rune, draws on that heritage. It is the PMA that the group believes makes this all legal. Once members have been vetted on ethnicity and other grounds, they can buy shares in the Limited Liability Company, or LLC. Those shares translate to acres of land that they can build on. Peter Seri is the brains behind the legal side of things.
Civil Rights Act is there for a reason, and this is a way around it.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll survive contact with the legal system, the courts, if it came to that?
Hopefully.
Do you think it's racist or not? Do you reject that term? Do you embrace it?
I don't know about that term. I mean, people use it in a lot of different ways. I'm sure there's a lot of people on the internet who would call me racist. I don't really know or care whether that term applies to me or not. Maybe.
Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I almost don't know what racist means anymore. Like, it's
a prejudice towards someone who's from a different ethnicity.
Well, actually, the modern definition of racism, according to critical race theory, all white people are racist automatically.
Yes.
A lot of this is reaction to left.
Yes, let's pause it. He's got a point, and the narrator's about to make this point too. A lot of this is reaction to the crazy. He mentioned it right there. Critical race theory, the woke bullshit. They are right when they say they don't know what racism means anymore. You know whose fault that is? Woke leftists. That's your fault, leftists. That's your fault because you guys came in and purposefully destroyed the understanding of words, like the meaning of words. You misused the word racist. You called everyone racist. And as he correctly pointed out, you said all white people are racist by virtue of being white. You also conveniently said, hey, it's impossible for other races to be racist, which makes no sense. It's absolutely stupid. And if you're still saying that in 2025, that it's impossible for black people to be racist, like you don't, I don't think I could even have a conversation. I'm so beyond that point now of trying to explain. Like when I first left woke, I was trying to explain because I got indoctrinated into all that crap too. They hit me in 1999. They hit me with the new definition of racism. Racism is prejudice plus power. Therefore, it's impossible for Black people to be racist because they don't have societal power. Only white people can be racist. They did the same thing with sexism. They hit me with that new redefinition in 1999. It's impossible for women to be sexist towards men because they don't have societal power, and sexism equals prejudice plus power. No, that's bullshit. So woke leftists, like, you are do you understand? I really want people on the left to understand, especially the ones who get the most angry about a community like this. You're the reason this community exists. You are. You've been telling generations now that white people are racist by virtue of being white. They're horrible and evil. Like, you've been doing that. You've been saying that's why they're like, I don't even know what that word means anymore. And you guys have redefined it so many times. We're just going to redefine it too. This is your fault. All of this. Thank you. Thank you for letting me do that rant. Thank you for coming.
I love the rants.
Thank you for letting me do that. You do like the rants? Okay.
Yeah.
It's their fault. Mark, thank you for the super chat, Mark, for $20. Mark says, a tan Spaniard with African ancestors is acceptable. That identity, in quotes, is appearance, not culture. They must surrender their will to melatonin, not values, or actually define their culture. They'd find largely agree with most Black people. Yeah. It is weird. That's why I think that when you get to be so rigid and you focus on something that's not actually causation, like you're so rigid about race, you can't see the forest for the trees. Because you would allow, like you said, like a tan Spaniard with African ancestors, you'd be like, oh, well, they have European ancestry, probably. Like, I don't know. My husband, when he was in Europe, he told me this story. You know Anthony, so he told me this story about, I think it was an Italian or somebody he met when he was in Europe for a while, who said to him, who had like really like tan, like olive skin. I think it was an Italian, and he said to Anthony, though, he goes, "My friend, I am brown, but you are ever brown." Ever brown.
Well, it's weird. Recently, I was going down a rabbit hole because I've heard some whites refer to Italians as not being white. I was like, what? Because I guess
what?
Anglos, but yeah, but I was trying to find out, like, what's the reason behind that? Because I know some Italians can have a little bit darker skin, and I think you're a Johnny Cash fan. You remember when I think it was one of his wives,
his first wife.
Yeah, the press thought she was Black.
Yeah,
because there's a picture of them coming out of the church. And everyone just went crazy over that stuff. And I think about that. I think about Dan Bongino. I thought Dan Bongino was half Black for a while, but apparently he's just Italian. And so, yeah. So I don't know. I was generally trying to understand that. It's just interesting too.
Yes. You're making me think of that. What's that movie that has Christopher Walken ranting about Sicilians calling Black people? Oh, I can't remember. Somebody knows that very non-PC clip. But yes, there is that. Yeah, Vivian was Johnny Cash's first wife, and she had Italian ancestry, and the media all thought she was Black.
Well, it's kind of similar to the Irish, because apparently historically the Irish are looked down upon by the other Europeans as being the Blacks, the Negroes of Europe. And of course, obviously a lot of the Southern culture does come from Ireland, and a lot of Blacks who bought into that culture. So obviously buying to Irish culture. And Tom Sowell, of course, talks about this.
Yes.
And even the movie Sinners. I don't know if you saw the movie Sinners, but that
not yet
touches upon that. So it's just interesting when you look back at how a lot of the Europeans kind of looked at the other European countries, and how many of them weren't considered to be white. But now there is kind of an attempt to foster kind of pan-Europeanism to fight against, all these, migrants being brought to their countries.
Oh, and these stereotypes, like they just switch. A lot of these stereotypes, they've also existed for different white ethnicities as well. We were at the Barrel. Whenever I'm at the Barrel, I have to say, we were at the Cracker Barrel this week, Anthony and I, on a date night. And I love the way each Cracker Barrel has like all these different antiques and vintage things on the walls. And there was this one advertisement for, I think it was for a bank, and it said, you know, come and relax, your savings are good with us. And we were trying to figure out why they had a Mexican cartoon Mexican man with a big sombrero like sleeping under a tree. We're like, why does it have a Mexican on it? And we're like, oh, he's sleeping, he's lazy, he's relaxing. Oh, he's relaxed. They're like, relax, your savings are safe with us. It was this old advertisement, right? And so we were kind of giggling about it. And then I was like, you know that the lazy Mexican stereotype used to exist for like lazy Irishmen, right? And Anthony was like, really? Yeah, look it up. Look up lazy Irishman. There were ads like that for Irishmen too. The lazy Irish guy, the lazy Mick, you know, like, so they kind of just take these things. They've used these things for white ethnicities too. And they've all existed before. Hey, Kevin Anderson. Cracker Barrel, talk about white culture.
I was wondering, like in this white town, are they going to have a Cracker Barrel there? Just one restaurant, just
four. Everything in the town is called. There's the Cracker gas station. There's the Cracker school. There's the Cracker Barrel. There's the.
I mean, are all the fireworks at July 4th going to be all white?
They're all going to be cracker fireworks, crackers. Cracker firecrackers. T Swan says the lazy Irishman stereotype was accurate. Now, hey there. Now I'm getting offended. People are pointing out the Christopher Walken clip where he's talking about Sicilians and black people is from the movie True Romance. Several people, ding, ding, ding. Several people gave us the answer. Thank you. I think let's watch a little more and then we can wrap this up. Probably we've gone a little bit.
I do have a funny video if you want to play it too. I don't know.
Yeah, let's end with something funny.
Okay.
The other thing I was going to say about this, and somebody pointed this out online, there are so many small towns in America that are already like mostly like 100% white. You can find small towns. I was in one recently. We were looking up the stats, Anthony and I, and laughing because we were like, oh wow, there's only 11 Mexicans in this town. You make 12. You know, depending on what part of the country, like we were doing the math and we're like, huh, that's interesting. The point is, this town, in a way, it's kind of what you said. It's for marketing and promotion to get more people to buy in and come there because you can do this anyway. You can find a town that's fitting to your demographics. If you want to live around only Korean people, there's places that you can do it. If you want to live around only black people, there's places where you can do it, etc. Only white people, there's places where you can do it. So this town is kind of just like grabbing headlines, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. There was a joke earlier that I really liked. Surlier Wolf said, in Soviet Russia, bland apartment complex lives in you. Also, Coltrane for $2. Thank you, Coltrane. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to your super chat. Matthew 21:43. And I don't have that pulled up, so let me just read it. Let me pull it up. It says, therefore I tell you, the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to a people who are producing its fruits. So this is about people who mistreat the land and don't make the most of what God gave them, how those blessings will be taken from you.
And by the way, that the one before this last chat you put up remind me of a book. If people are interested in learning more about the influence of socialism on architecture, there's a great book called From Our House to Bauhaus by Tom Wolfe. It's a very short book, but he talks about the influences of the socialist on modernism and a little bit in postmodernism, but very good book.
From Our House to Bauhaus. Also, I've got to pull that episode you mentioned of pop culture, and I'll put the link below where we did talk about architecture. And Kevin Anderson said that was a really great episode of pop culture. It's been a while since we did that one, but yeah, thanks, Kevin. So From Our House to Bauhaus, that's your book recommendation. Here's the thing, T-Swan. Here's what you miss out on. I never got to finish my anecdote from before, but I was talking about American identity, right? And how they're trying to destroy that, and how when you're very rigid about race, like you miss out on all these surprises and blessings. And here's a great example. You and I, if you lived in a blacks only town, you had to be black to live there, and all of your, and I lived in a whites only town, and what are the chances like we would be friends if you were in this totally separatist community and you were instilled with these ideas of like, you don't mix with others. Like, it's just, look at all the blessings like we would have missed out on, and the blessing of friendship. And I mean, I just find it so absurd that someone would be like, oh, you and Mr. Chris don't have a lot in common. You have more in common with like some random white person on the. Actually, I don't. I've been to Walmart. There's lots of white people there. There's lots of white people there. I don't want to think I have anything in common with, okay?
Yeah, I just couldn't imagine what life would be like if I was like in a black only area or town. Like my interests would be so much more shallower, and just having the exposure to different cultures, I think it's just made my life a lot more rewarding than it would have been otherwise.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And you were like the first critic of Black culture, by the way. What
Yes.
happened to Black culture? And I'm the first critic of what's happened to what Thomas Sowell calls cracker culture, which is what I came from.
Yeah. I'm like, a lot of these racist, whites, I'm like, you do realize there's a lot of us blacks who hate ghetto blacks more than you hate blacks. Like,
more than you
like
do.
why are you trying to alienate us? Like, I get it,
Yeah.
ghetto blacks, I get it, but why are you lumping us together with them? Come on.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, come on. Brahma Bull says, hey, Keri, off topic, but Cartman is going to be Charlie Kirk on the next South Park. LOL, should be epic. He's going to play Charlie Kirk? Very cool. I hadn't heard that. How funny. Randy Wallen for $10. Thank you, Randy, for supporting the program, for being here for our special episode with Mr. Chris. He says, what happened in Ohio recently sickens me, and we're surprised that people want to get away from the madness. Oh, is this the jazz?
White people? Yeah.
Yes. Now, if you haven't seen it, this is more of that double standard that people are sick of. White leftists, this is the kind of stuff, if you don't understand it yet, this is why. Like, if you're a white leftist and you're watching this, do you even know about what happened in Ohio? It was roving packs of gangs of people who happened to be Black, who were attacking white people. There's video of it. One white family who got attacked, they knocked the woman out. I did see the clip where this man punched her in the face. She was out cold, blood was coming out of her mouth. Like, now, I know when you just see video clips out of context, you're like, what did they do? What happened? What led up to it? I don't think anything led up to it. Have you heard otherwise?
No, I'm not sure.
It was just senseless violence.
Yeah. And see, like, this was so frustrating because so many blacks like myself have been calling out this behavior for a long time and saying it's only a matter of time until you start pissing off white people, and they're going to start being a lot more racist, and there's a lot more white people in this country than there are Black people. So the people engaging in this behavior, and specifically people excusing behavior, need to stop. Like, things are going to get ugly, and instead blacks like myself get called Uncle Tom, and it's just frustrating.
Did you ever see that clip of you mentioned Boondocks earlier, of Aaron Magruder, the creator of Boondocks, talking about exactly what you just said about how chickens were going to come home to roost with white people eventually if Black people didn't? Yeah. Have you seen this?
Yes, I have.
I'm going to play this for anyone. Now, I was a fan of Boondocks, but I had never seen this. This relates. And I was recently on Isaiah Carter's show, which is called Apostate Radio. It's a great show. And he shared this on X. He said, on Sunday's incredible episode of Apostate Radio New York, made such by the incomparable real Keri Smith. I'm kidding. Sorry, that's weird reading about yourself. I referenced a clip from Aaron Magruder, the creator of the Boondocks. 20 years ago, this man was warning everyone of the imminent apathy and erosion of moral capital that would come in discussions of racism. Now, a lot of leftists loved Boondocks, but I think they missed a lot of the messaging there. And they definitely weren't aware of this. Even I wasn't aware of this either. Listen to what he's saying.
I really want you guys to understand that time is running out. And a lot of Black people say that, but for real. Part of why the civil rights movement has been so successful, and part of why those who have come after in terms of our leadership have been able to maintain a presence, is that Black people have always had a certain amount of moral currency that we have been using. And let me be the first to tell you, that's used up.
It's used up.
White America has been watching us act like fools for a long enough time where any sympathy they may have had to our plight is completely gone. You're approaching a country that, forget hating Black people or not hating Black people, they just don't care. You can be talking about affirmative action, they can be like, I don't care. It literally is of no importance to me. I don't care about slavery. I don't care about segregation. I don't care about you. I don't care how many of you all go to jail. I don't care at all, because I'm broke. You can't be the proud, noble fighter when every single time someone sees a person that looks like you on television, they're acting like a damn fool.
Yep.
How would they know? How would they know you're not a damn fool? They're gonna talk to you? Yeah, right. This is what we're facing. Now, this was not a very motivational speech because I'm not a motivational speaker. I gotta be honest. No, wait. That don't matter to me. I'm a critic. That's what I do for a living. I'm not here to tell you you can do it, because you know what? Maybe you just can't do it. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be real. I hope you can do it. I hope to God you can do it. You better do it. Because if you don't, will you suffer? Yeah. But your kids are gonna catch hell. You guys are it. Don't think about Jesse. Don't think about Al. They will not be there.
Isn't that amazing?
And that's Black Sit and Listen too.
And Black Sit and Listen. So yeah. And whites, like for that graph we looked at earlier, which by the way, Bros and Bows was like, thanks for this chart. Things make so much more sense now. But that chart with the outgroup preference, because of this, when Black people misbehave and act a fool and act violently and hurt people, and like the video from Ohio with attacking these gangs of Black people attacking white people, when that happens and you see the media and the establishment and you see woke white people bend over backwards to either ignore it, or if they do address it, to excuse it and to come up with some reason why it's okay or it's excused, like this builds up over time, and it plays into what you're saying, and it plays into what Aaron Magruder was saying over 20 years ago, that like white people are at some point white people will hit a point where they're like, no more, yeah. And some people will take it so far that they're like getting into crazy Nazi Hitler crap and idolizing Hitler and talking about they're fascists now or whatever.
Yeah, it's us Blacks. So many of us expect whites to control themselves, because so many of us will say just the most racist things towards them. But we know deep down that there's going to be a gang of white people that show up in front of our door trying to lynch us. We expect and behave better than many of us would put in the same situation. And so I think this is going to spill over, and I think it's going to get really ugly. And I wish we could have avoided it, but I just think things at least are going to have to get worse before they get better, if they get better. But it's going to be.
You think they're still going to be getting worse? Yeah, I think so too. Actually, I thought we had like such a big cultural victory over woke. The recent election to me seemed like, oh, this is political truth. Like this is political consequence, where we're seeing politically the fruits of the culture changing and turning against woke. But now I'm just half a year into this, 2020, 6 months into to 2025, and I'm starting to see the rise of this sort of fascist, what's being called woke right, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh great, now are we just going to swing back in the other? We're just going to keep going back and forth between these extremes. Is that what's going to happen? Different sides that want us to be at war with each other instead of with elites. Like they want us to be in a racial war. They want us to be in a gender war. They want us to be in a left-right war instead of the people holding the elites accountable. We never hold them accountable for shit. Sorry, pardon my language. We didn't hold them accountable for COVID origins, for COVID policy. We didn't hold them accountable. We're not going to hold them accountable for Epstein, apparently, for elite pedo rings. And it's just, I don't know. It's just like they just keep getting away. They're just so good at pushing the fight with each other now button, right?
Yeah. So unfortunately, I think most people are just susceptible to programming.
Yeah.
It's just very easy to program human beings, apparently. It makes me kind of sad. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. They never even were held accountable for JFK.
No.
That's how long they've been doing this. You know?
It's a lot of people have kind of given up on not just democracy, which direct democracy doesn't work. Not that it's actually ever existed, but representative democracy, a lot of people are giving up on that. And that's why you're seeing more of a push and embrace of autocracy.
I've seen that. I've seen people saying that they're for autocracy now or monarchy and all this. I mean, people are going in crazy places because they're fed up with it, the corruption. A couple people to thank. I missed this one. Andrew Knapp for $5. Thank you, Andrew. Says critical theorists validated his logic. Obviously, it's still flawed, but the left played a stupid game, and this is part of their stupid prize. 100%. That's what I'm trying to say. Any leftists who are watching, this is what you reaped. You sowed and you reaped. This is what you reap. We've been trying to tell you this is what you reap. And some of you are still in woke ideology, and you people are so lost. It's so funny because some of them, I don't think they quite know what to make of me now that woke right seems to be gaining traction online, and I'm talking more about like this crazy crap that's happening on popular podcasts with people praising Hitler and stuff. Some of the woke left don't know what to make of me because they've been calling me a fascist forever, and they're like, wait a minute, she's criticizing fascists, and they're trying to understand. And I'm like, you guys don't even know what pieces are on the board. You've been watching the wrong movie for so long. You're not even going to be helpful. You're not going to be helpful in fighting actual fascists. Like, because you know what? You created the fascists, and you are fascists in your own right. Like, you guys behave like fascists. You're two sides of the same coin. So don't even, like, those people think, they think Trump is a Nazi or Hitler. The ones who say stuff like that, you're so far gone. You're so far gone. Not only did you create this problem that we're in, but you're not going to be able to fix it, until you wake up. If you wake up. You know what they're going to be doing, Mr. Chris? They're going to be running around every time there's a white separatist community like this in the news, or Nick Fuentes in the news, or whatever. All those leftists are going to be running around like, see, we've been telling you guys. Liberals who left, we told you. And we're like, no, we told you, dummies.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, with all this talk, people talk about black fatigue and stuff. I was thinking, like, will this cause a lot of us blacks to correct our behavior and start holding each other accountable? Or will this just be used as an excuse just to double down and say, there are the racist white supremacists that we've been talking about, just like you just said. Like,
they're gonna.
I hope we change, but I don't know.
No, we're not going to change. I mean, that's the black pilled Keri, but it doesn't matter because God's in control. God's on the throne. But still, I don't know. Human nature. Come on now. Okay, so you sent me.
I got something fun.
Funny. We're gonna end on something funny, guys.
So let's set this up. This is a clip from the Chris Rock show. Came out in the 90s, late 90s, and very underrated show. I actually kind of think the skits on it are better than Chappelle's show. I know it's blasphemy, a lot of people. But in this particular Man on the Street interview, Chris Rock interviews some South Carolinians, what you people are called.
We're from those of us in South Kakalaki.
But he interviewed them about the South Carolina flag, which I think at one point in time was Confederate flag. I don't think it's anymore. Right, because I think they removed it.
No, it was. No, our flag has always been blue with the palmetto, the tree on it. I think what you're talking about is that our capital used to
Okay.
fly the rebel flag also.
I gotcha. Okay.
And then
So-
people got really mad.
Yeah. So in this little interviews he's doing, he's asked people about that, and there's a point, and I queued it up right at the 2-minute mark, where he shows some alternatives for flags that could be flown above the Capitol. So
Okay. Hold on. I just have to do a quick yeah, okay. It was that this was just a fact check for anybody because I had to get the dates right and everything. 2015, after 54 years, the Confederate flag came down from the Capitol. So what it was that our flag is always blue with the palmetto tree, but then we would also fly the Confederate flag as part of, being part of the South. And then woke people really and came to a head in 2015. They were like, "How dare you?" And, but come on, like
it doesn't bother me. I used to, I was a kid, I was like, everybody's a racist, but then I was like, no, there's tons of people who don't see it as, racist, white supremacist symbol.
That's not what the flag means. Yes, that's not. Sure, for some people, is that what it means? Sure. And you know what, leftists, you are solidifying that that's what it will always mean because you keep saying that's what it means, and it doesn't. And you don't listen to Southerners who tell you that's not what it means. You just want to say, no, it can only be, the Confederate flag can only be for racist. You want to make it a racist flag and keep it a racist flag. And once again, you're the left hand of the white supremacists. Woke leftists are. That flag, in my little town, there was a guy who used to sell, whenever we'd have the town, wherever all the booths where vendors would come out on the weekends, like farmers market and stuff like that. The one guy who was like the Confederate flag, the rebel flag vendor, meaning you could go to his booth and you could buy anything with a rebel flag, like a lighter or a koozie or a t-shirt or whatever. He was a black guy. That was his whole business, was Confederate flag. They're like, oh, it's offensive to black people. It's like, what are you talking about? No, it's like Dukes of Hazzard. It's like the South is badass. Like, it's a Southern thing. So that's my little rant about that. Okay. And Chris Rock, he's got family. He grew up partially in South Carolina, so I'm not surprised he went back there.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that?
I didn't.
Yeah, he's got South Carolina family. Okay, here we go.
No, I don't.
We devised some flags that we're going to hang up over the State House. We want to tell us what you think about it. And then this first one is a flag of OJ and a white woman.
That'll work.
Think that would work?
Like that's a good-looking woman, and Jay's a mighty lucky man.
She got blue eyes too.
Yeah, it's a real blue-eyed white woman.
And blonde hair, yeah.
Just to really piss him.
Was this before he murdered?
No, this is after. This is late. This is probably like 98, 99. So this is after.
Wow. Okay, let's keep going.
Got the right kind of nose.
Yeah.
That's a white woman.
Yeah. South Carolina is OKKK. South Carolina is OKKK.
I don't like that one.
Are you familiar with the Klan? South Carolina is OKKK. How's that? Is that?
Nah, they'll cause a lot of trouble.
Are you familiar with the Wu-Tang Clan?
The Wu-Tang. The Wu-Tang. You said the Wu-Tang.
The Wu-Tang Clan.
The Wu-Tang. No, I don't remember.
So that's another division of the Klan. How about just a cracker?
No.
How about just a big cracker?
I don't like that one.
Just a flag of a cracker. Just to let you know where you're at.
Put some cheese on top of it.
How about the Malcolm X? See, now you combine Malcolm with the Confederate flag, everybody's happy. Malcolm X in the Confederate colors. It's the stars of the Confederate replaced by the stars of the WB.
That ain't a bad looking woman, man. A lot of them women ain't bad looking. Go ahead and show me another one.
Okay, now who's your favorite WB star?
You know, man, I hate to sit, but I don't even know these folks.
Replacing the stars of the Confederate with the stars of the WB.
Oh, now that's clever.
That's fine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like that, yeah.
Okay, Governor, we've hit the streets, we've talked to the people, and this is the flag they want. Stars of the WB.
Well, I appreciate your help in trying to assist me in resolving this problem.
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Comedy.
Love it.
It brings us together. Now, do you think if you showed that to young Gen Z Black people, they would find it funny, or they would be like, this is problematic?
Yeah, they'd be like, this needs to be deleted from the internet.
Really? They wouldn't even laugh at that.
I don't know. I don't think they would.
I've since he showed the cracker on the flag. Do you remember this advertisement that went around a few years ago that this cracked me up? I shared this and I was like, yes, we do. Remember this? Crackers love cheese.
No, I've never seen that.
It's a real grocery store thing. It's got a white lady eating a cracker with cheese on it.
Oh, that marketing person needs a raise.
The marketing do you think the marketing person knew?
They had to.
Hey, young people, if you don't know, cracker is just a slur for white people. We've said the Nazi word too many times, and I think we've said cracker. Oh, they don't care if you say cracker.
No. I do love crackers sometimes.
We do say the white people. Hey, Therese, we do love cheese.
Love cheese.
Everybody loves cheese and crackers. Except Gen Z. I'm kidding. Okay. You guys, thanks for hanging out today. Oh, wait. We've got 2 more super chats, and then we'll wrap this up. ADL 1992 for $4.99. Thank you, ADL. Says, I've heard that most Koreans here all attend the same church, even though some live 20 miles away. Yeah, this is what we're talking about, these communities that are sort of insulated and, in-group preference. And when I lived in LA, for example, I mean, Koreatown was huge in Los Angeles. It is huge. And there's a lot of stuff that's kind of like this white separatist town. Honestly, there's banks that are created by Koreans. It's pretty much, I think it's unsaid, but everyone knows. Unspoken, but everyone knows it's like 4 banks for Korea. They have like private Korean banks and like community, like to help the community out. There's all of this high trust, high reciprocity, but like within the Korean community. And that doesn't surprise me. Randy Wallen for $2. Thank you. Randy says, have either of you seen Who Killed Michael Brown? It's a doc. I haven't seen it.
Look that up.
It's a documentary probably about BLM and what happened there. Brahma Bull earlier said, don't worry about YouTube. Say what you mean. Although I'm guilty of it too, especially on other people's channels. I do say what I mean. Thanks, Brahma Bull.
I apologize, Terry. Sometimes I say things I'm like, well, maybe I should have said that.
You know my policy is say whatever you want. I mean, I prefer that. So I prefer that. It has been so nice having you back.
Yeah, it's been fun doing the show and the chat. It's great.
A special treat to have you during the day, and thanks for being here to talk about the whites only community in Arkansas. I think that you should put in an application. If they don't see your picture, go ahead.
There's no such thing as white flight for me, Keri. I will follow white people wherever they go.
You just follow white people. Yeah. If you put in an application and you talk about all the nerdy stuff you're into, I think you'll just be like super nerdy in the app.
I'll talk about my love of Duran Duran and mayonnaise.
Your love of Duran Duran and mayonnaise. Oh, and tell them you're a white chocolate supremacist.
Yeah.
Mystery Chris is weird. He doesn't like chocolate. It's whites only chocolate. He only eats white chocolate. How weird is that?
Mixing. Ugh.
Imagine them mixing.
Disgusting.
Okay, guys. Thanks for being here. If you like the video, please hit like. Please share it with people, and we'll hope you be back. This has been a really fun special episode of Deprogrammed, and I'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.